Whether it's around the country or your town or county, decisions are being made every day that impact real people and real communities. Welcome to the Rural View, where we open the window for you to view Wisconsin farmers and rural residents and get a glimpse into the challenges they face. And we welcome you to another edition of the Rural View, where we get a chance to talk with some of the folks who are making Farm Bureau what it is. And today we welcome Amy Vandermark, Amy from Juneau County. And first off, tell us exactly where's home.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. I'm excited to be on today. My home is in South Central Wisconsin. Most people know where Wisconsin Dells is, and we're just 30 minutes west of the Dells in a little town called Elroy, Wisconsin, in the Driftless region.
Yes, home of Royal High School.
Oh, very good. I'm impressed. Yeah, home of the Panthers.
Talk about you're a beef producer. Tell us a bit about the operation.
Yeah, so we run a cow-calf to finish operation. We sell direct to consumer. We have about 50 head of Black Angus mama cows. And we've been farming. My parents bought the farm in 1982. My brother and I started purchasing and getting involved in the farm in about 2007. And then, unfortunately, unexpectedly, my dad passed away in 2015. And so all three of us siblings sat down and had to make a decision what we wanted to do, whether we were going to keep the farm going, sell the farm, or we had to make a decision whether we were really going to make a go of it, because all of us have full-time jobs. None of us lived on the farm. And at that time, we decided not to make any major decisions the first year. And as we sat down and did some really strategic planning and looked at what we wanted, we decided that we wanted to get more involved in the farm and keep the farming operation alive. About that time, I decided that I would move back to the farm. I was working in Madison and was able to potentially work. I traveled a lot at that time, so I was able to potentially work from home a couple days a week as well. And so I decided to move back to the farm, and we've been growing our operation ever since.
So what you're doing, a lot of families do have to deal with that somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
Any steps that you look back on and we could have done this differently? We could have done this any better?
Yeah, we were really, really blessed. My father had gone through, I guess, a horror story two different times. His dad passed away really young, and they lost the family farm, and they had to sell it in an auction. My dad was still in high school. His younger brother was, I think, a freshman in high school. And so he just wasn't in the position at that time to, take it over. And so they ended up having to sell the farm on an auction. So he lost it. He got drafted into the military and then went and farmed with my parents' farm. And that didn't go well. And so, when you have I would say for people, handshakes are good until you're in a family relationship and something goes south. So get things documented. So we were very blessed. We had sat down and we had built an LLC back in 2007. We had developed an operating plan. And so as tragic as my dad's death was, and we didn't expect it, he wasn't sick or anything like that. So it was very unexpected. Because we had done all of our work beforehand and we knew his wishes, and we were very well prepared, it went really, really smoothly. I've heard horror stories. I've been part of helping different people with succession planning, and we were blessed. I think there was one savings account that he had that he didn't have anybody else's name on that was the death of us. But other than that, it was really smoothly. So I just tell people, have the tough conversations when everybody's healthy. My nephew is going to be coming back involved in the farm. We have the tough conversations now. It's not gifted to you. You have to earn your way through it. There's going to be money, and that's not for everybody, but whatever those conversations are, have them early on. Someone's going to not pay you sometime. What are you going to do about that? Someone's going to stab you in the back. How are you going to handle those conversations? Someone potentially could pass away. Are we going to be ready for that? So it's a lot easier to have those conversations when everybody's in a good mood versus when fighting starts to happen or a tragic accident happens. They're not fun, but they're must-haves on a farm today.
So were you and your siblings part of the LLC at the time of your father's death? So
Yeah,
that was one
yep,
thing that helped to your
yeah.
advantage.
It was great. Yeah, I mean, not that it was great that my dad died, but
No.
that saved us, right? Like we had everything laid out that if one of the partners would pass away, this is what would happen. And so it just we just followed our operating agreement and just moved on, and we took it to the lawyers and they did their things, and it was very minimal cost for us because everything was already laid out. So again, I've heard lots of horror stories about it, or, siblings that not all involved that all of a sudden want to be involved at the day of death because the farms are worth so much money, right? So when you're talking millions and millions of dollars and someone's not interested in farming, that cash looks really nice. Most of us are not cash rich, right? We're land rich, but not cash rich.
So, did the siblings have spouses at all, and were they part of the LLC?
Yeah, so we made a decision right off the get go that our spouses at the time would not be part of the LLC. So our long term plan was to keep it in a family or in a farming family. So if all of us decided to get out, we wanted to be able to sell it to somebody that was going to continue farming it. And that was our main objective. And so that made it a little different for us on how we set up our operating agreement with our spouses. So our spouses knew right up front that they weren't part of the LLC. And so if something happened, and for me, I did get a divorce, and they knew right up in front that the farm was not part of the agreement and they had signed off on it. So again, never in my wildest dreams did I think that was going to happen, but it was a conversation I had up front. And then when it did happen, was a very smooth transition.
What kind of resources did you guys look at or were helpful? Were there something locally? You talked about a lawyer. Did you use anything from Department of Agriculture,
Yeah.
consumer protection? Like what did you guys seek out for help?
Well, I tell you, initially, when we first started getting involved in it, I worked for a company called Accelerated Genetics. No longer, they're part of Select Sires. It's a artificial insemination company, but they used to have a workshop in the winter time, and Jolene Brown, who a lot of people are familiar with, she came and spoke out on succession planning, and there was lawyers there and that gave advice. It really started making us think. Though we knew some of the things before that, that really took us to another level. And so, utilizing people like Jolene Brown, and then we started going to other succession planning workshops. Pierre has some. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that we went to back in the day. Initially, we went to a couple. I was part of PDPW at the time, and they had some succession planning. And so we went to just as many different ones as we could, and took pieces of all those to develop what fit our family. And then we interviewed a few different lawyers, and found the one that worked for us and our family and understood us. And so, yeah, that's kind of what we did. Finding a good lawyer, finding a good accountant, always important when you're farming these days.
Don't fill out the back of a postcard and mail it in.
Exactly.
Do you have a provision if a member of the LLC wants to sell out? Do you have first right of refusal on the options?
Yeah, we do. So in that, if there's set already kind of the pricing and how the pricing structure works, and then we have first right of refusal on that. So in theory, it should stay within our family. We have term agreements, things like that, that are set up already in the buy-sell agreement.
Excellent. So,
Yeah.
speaking of the operation, you have a direct marketing operation. You sell.
Yeah.
How did you get that established? Because you are the envy of a lot of producers out there.
Well, I don't know for the envy, but yeah, so really when I moved back to the farm, we knew we needed an income stream that helped pay for the farm. The farm wasn't paid off at that point in time. We knew that we wanted to do some expansion because when we bought, my brother and I bought into the farm, that was part of the agreement, was to buy into the farm from my parents. And so we still had that loan that we own. And so we needed to make sure that we had some income coming through. And so my sister actually got us involved after we sold our dairy cows in 2000. My sister had bought a couple beef cows, and so we had beef on the farm since 2000, but it was more like, 7, 10, somewhere around there. And we would always just sell to our neighbors or our friends. Meat kept it for ourselves. In 2017, we really sat down and started to really look at how are we going to do this. And so we started selling. I truly felt like a used car salesman because I was, that first year, the first couple years, it was tough. You've got these beef and you don't have them sold and you're like calling people, and I was putting things on Craigslist and Facebook, and I'm like, why aren't people coming? I thought people would just fall out of the woodwork and just want this amazing beef that we have. And it was like hours and hours of just grinding and talking to everybody and going to different events and saying, hey, I've got these beef halves, wholes, and quarters for sale. And and it always seemed like I was always the last minute, like I was just sweating, like I don't know why I'm gonna get this last one sold, or I don't know how I'm gonna get this last quarter sold, or I got everything but a quarter sold, so I'm gonna have to put a quarter in my freezer and try to figure out how I'm gonna sell it, or we're gonna have to eat this one. So the first couple years was really, really challenging. And we started some of the things that really came to apparent to us is I never had the beef when people wanted it. I always had the beef when people didn't want it. Um, and so we started changing our philosophy on how we were going to market, and we started breeding almost all year round. So our business model is a little bit different than the typical Wisconsin beef farmer or US beef rancher. We try to have beef for sale butchering every single month.
So you calve year round?
Year round. Yep, I calve year round. The only months I don't calve are usually December, January, February, because it's just so cold. I will push it into December, and I've been lucky the last couple of years. We've had some pretty mild Decembers, but January and February, I don't have the setup or the facilities for it, but otherwise we calve year round, which means then I have beef year round. And that has really been a game changer for us because people want to go to the grocery store and buy their beef when they want it, right? So they want to call me up and they say, hey, Amy, I want a half a beef, and they want to be able to get it in a couple weeks. They don't want to wait 6 months when I have it now in the fall or in the spring, because I'm a fall caver, I'm a spring caver. And so then I only have it, after that in one time of year. So that was a game changer for us. It's a lot more work because we are calving and we're breeding animals every single month, again, so that we're not calving in January and February, but I get 2 months off a year that we're not breeding. I have a phenomenal team around me with that. So I have a great person that comes to breed cows for us. We've got a schedule set up. And when she comes in and does that, we flipped our farm around a little bit. So we have a smaller area for where that calving area is for us. But we're pretty old school in facilities. Everything has to be able to, we all have full-time jobs. So they have to be able to get up and start nursing on their own because someone may not see them for 8 to 10 hours. So it's been really good. 3 years ago, we developed a website and we developed an e-commerce. Again, that really took us to another level. And now, I'm sold out all the way through April of next year already. So it's been, it's almost, I keep on saying like it almost feels unreal at this point in time because, I do hardly we have regular social media and I have newsletters that I send out, but I'm taking orders versus being a used car salesman anymore, which is really nice. And a lot of it is word of mouth now. And we sell all over the state of Wisconsin. Yeah. And it's great. I love educating consumers. I love getting to know the stories of our customers and why. And they all have a different story of why they're buying beef from a farmer. At the end of the day, they all want to know where their food comes from, but why they're doing it that way is all very, very different. And it's so gratifying getting to know our customers.
I was definitely going to give you a big shout out for the website. I think the website is so well done, and
Thank you.
I think websites and e-commerce is one of those things that farmers particularly are like, I don't want to do that, but you guys have done a really nice job. One thing that really stuck out on your website to me was your farming principles, and I do have it pulled up if you don't know them right offhand, but Bob,
Yeah.
if you didn't see it, it's literally the word farming, right? But you put behind each of the letters, your farming principles, and I just thought that was so not only clever, but also just so great that your consumers can literally get a glimpse of what's important to you from the get-go. And so just talk a little bit more about like why that's important and how does that connect to your consumers when you're engaging with them?
Yeah. Well, thank you for that, first of all, because there was a lot of hours put into that. And all three of us siblings had a huge role into that because we all three of us have a little bit of a specialization within the farm. And so when we're all together having to come up with one idea for the farm, sometimes that can be an interesting table conversation. So I appreciate that very much. For us, our farm, it's funny because I'm thinking about my homework that I have done for Saturday for the Farm Institute leadership. And one of the things is our core principles on our personal life as well, right? That I have to have done. And we talk a lot about legacy and our faith and agricultural practices. And first and foremost, we are a faith-based family. God comes before anything else. We pray together. We think about how we are going to leave this land and our farm better than how we got it. And so everything we do is based off of that principle to begin with. And it is, when my brother and I bought into the farm, we didn't know exactly where we were going to head, but we knew that the legacy of whatever that legacy was, not necessarily the legacy to live it to the next generation, though we hope, but I don't have kids, but his kids were really young at the time. You don't have any idea what they're going to do, but we knew we wanted the legacy of the farm to stay a farm and to be developed. We needed to develop it for the next generation to be able to keep it to be a farm. And so, when you're talking to consumers, they don't understand, what it takes and sometimes I forget, like I was making my lists for butchering for 2027 and I'm like, man, these cattle are on my farm already, right? And I'm already developing their butcher dates for 2027. And sometimes I forget about the work that it takes and the day in and day out because you're just in it all the time and you're trying to make the best of it. But then when you look in the future, you have to sometimes take a step back and go, wow, like there is a lot of work and I'm nurturing these animals every single day and, twice a day and through rain and snow and heat and once in a while, great weather. For us, it's so important for them to understand that where our values come from and that we're going to instill those values into those cattle that they're going to consume and put on their kitchen table and trust us with that. And we don't take that for granted. And we talk to our customers every single time, no matter if they've been buying for us for 5 years, we talk to them about that every single time they do a purchase with us.
Where did you come up with the name Silver Star?
Oh my goodness, that's a great question. So when my parents were married, they have their song is from an old Don Williams song called Country Boy, and that's their wedding song. And in that song, the chorus is gold in the sun, silver in the stars. And so initially when they bought the farm, the farm was going to be called Golden Sun or something like that. But that was already taken, and so then they went with the next thing, which was Silver Star. So that's how our name came about, was their wedding dance song, and we play that usually yearly, still to this day. Can sing it to you. I won't hurt your ears today on that. Yeah, if you
We
want to
may ask for that at the end here, right?
country farmer song about can't plan a wedding during harvest, can't plan a wedding during spring. But I'm going to give you gold in the sun and silver in the stars because you're going to be out in the country. It's a good song.
Talk a bit about your day job.
Yeah. So I work for a company called Millhaven Foods, and it's a family from a larger company called Select Milk Producers. And so Select Milk Producers is a cooperative based out of Texas. They have dairy farmers. So I work for dairy farmers, which is really important to me and really cool. And here at Millhaven Foods, we are a dry dairy manufacturer. So we work with dry dairy powder, mostly protein, and making different protein products. So we don't make the end product here. We make the product that would go on to further manufacturing. Whey protein is a very hot commodity right now. It's everywhere. It's in bars, it's in bread, it's in ice cream. You name it, you can find the word protein.
Sports drinks.
Energy drink. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. Before it was just, you buy your whey protein powder and it was for the people that went and worked out in a gym. But that's very different today. So
Starbucks just rolled out a line. Starbucks has a whole protein drink. Yeah.
I know. I just heard that is unreal. Protein is a hot topic right now, and it is a hot commodity. That's for sure.
Why do you enjoy your job? Because you seem very passionate about it.
I love my job. For me, it's diversification. Every day is a different day. I also get to work with a lot of great people. I'm in within the leadership group on our operations. So I work with a lot of our production folks, just training them and ensuring that we're getting production out, meeting our customers' demands. The thing that I like the most is helping people grow and seeing them succeed and getting to ask them the tough questions of potential maybe that they didn't see in themselves, and then pushing them to reach that potential. So there's definitely trying days, but in general, even the trying days, you try to figure out the positive and how we can just continue to get better and grow as a company. And ultimately, our people are our biggest asset, and just helping those people succeed.
You look at the dairy industry and how you talk about whey protein, and I remember when we used to get whey to feed to the pigs. They didn't
Pigs.
use whey.
Yeah.
Yes, and all of a sudden they found out, hey, there's still stuffing things in that whey.
Hmm.
What has been the driving force behind the diversification and growth in the dairy industry?
Yeah. So, I think that a couple different things. So, I'm going to give a shout out to my parent company, and that's Select Milk Producers. One of the owners, Mike McCluskey, is the founder of Fairlife Milk. And so, they did a tremendous job with that product. High protein, low sugar, and it's going to have a long shelf life, right? So they really turned a corner in a market that was declining for years, right? And now that market is just continuing to skyrocket. And they really, promoted the protein, easy, convenient, ready to go with great flavor. And now as we look fast forward, 10, 15 years within the protein industry, really we have a lot of people that have understand that, protein is what builds body cell, your body muscle mass. You need it. The older you get, you still need to take that. And so I think there's been a lot of research done, especially now with a lot of the Ozempic and some of the other drugs that are on the market that are helping with weight loss, but you need to continue to increase your protein level. And so that whole change of how people are watching their diets and stuff, and understanding how important and vital protein is. And there's multiple ways to get that. You can get that through beef, or you can get that through products that are specifically tailored with high protein. The one thing is, like anything, read your labels. Protein isn't created equal. Products aren't created equal. There's a lot of fluff in some of those products. Clean. I'm gonna sell all day long. Meat is one ingredient. When you're looking at protein, look at your ingredient deck and make sure it doesn't have a lot of extra sugar, whatever they're calling the sugar in it, added to it.
I will say first off that once you try Fairlife chocolate milk, you will never drink another.
You'll never drink anything else.
It is
It is,
very good.
and I interviewed the McCluskeys years
Oh,
ago,
did you?
and his wife, Mike's wife, is the one who came up with.
Yes.
There's a great story behind how they developed the Fairlife process,
Yeah.
and I remember, at that time they were just marketing it on their own, and
Mm-hmm.
then Coca-Cola started distributing, and the whole thing goes. But
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
what
a
a great
great
story!
story. And
Yes,
and
yes.
it's been so great for the dairy industry. I mean, it's been so great for the dairy industry.
It's certainly an innovation. There's no question about it. So,
Yeah,
how'd
for
you get involved in Farm Bureau?
wow. Oh, yeah, great questions. My dad was a longtime Farm Bureau. He was on the Farm Bureau County Board. He never served on the state board, but was very active within the state as well. And so growing up, I knew of Farm Bureau, but it wasn't until I actually moved back to the farm and my county president called me up and was like, "Hey, your dad wants you to be on the on the board." And I'm like, "Oh, really? Does he?" I'm like,
Very
"You went
strategic.
to the grave and had a conversation with him?" What? He's like, "You need to carry on the legacy." And I'm like, truthfully, I didn't know a lot about it as much as I should have, as heavily involved as he was. And I probably didn't truly understand how much work was done on like the policy levels and education and some of those things. I thought it was more of a marketing arm, truthfully, until I really got involved in it. And so I'm like, he twisted my arm, and I'm like, sure, I'll serve on the board. And so I got on the board really before becoming an active member, because they needed a board member. And so that's how I got involved in the Farm Bureau, truthfully. And it wasn't until probably getting involved really in the leadership. Well, I'll step back. I was asked to participate in, and I'm drawing a blank now, and Amy, maybe you can help me. It was a P&E conference, maybe.
Was it Cultivate and Connect?
Yeah, yep. I spoke at that based off of, so one of the things that I chair on our county committee is our wine and cheese event, and they had asked me to come and speak about that. And so I went and spoke on that, and then I'm like, oh, I'm going to hang out. It's a free, they're paying my way to be here because I spoke, so I might as well listen and find out more about what's going on. And so I really was really intrigued, and it was a really good session. I learned a ton, came back into our county, talked about some of the things that I learned and some of the things that maybe we could adopt. And then Becky, who is our regional coordinator, she's been pushing me to get involved in the leadership class. And I didn't apply 2 or 3 years ago, I guess now. One, I was like, oh, I'm too old. I've done so many leadership courses. I don't really need to do another leadership course. But I'm so glad she kept on pushing me because the Leadership Institute has been phenomenal. Wendy does a great job of organizing it, and I've learned so much more about Farm Bureau, and I'm still just scratching the surface, I feel like. But it's truly an organization that I want to continue to put efforts into and support in any way, because it's already not only benefited myself, but our farm. And I just think it's so important. If legacy is truly one of our long-term values for our farm, then I should be a Farm Bureau member and make sure that I'm doing everything to advocate for farmers.
And the Institute is a 2-year-long course. And so you are kind of nearing the end of it. So you've
Yep.
kind of seen the full picture of what that all entails. And you kind of alluded to, you got some homework. It's
Yeah.
not an easy journey. But what
It's
has been your biggest like aha moment, or what is like your number one, like, this is what I took away from this experience?
Yeah, so I first and foremost, you meet so many people, and you're developing these connections, you're developing these relationships that you can utilize for many years to come. So, just those connections has been huge. Second of all, the government policy workshop or class was top notch. It was so good. Like, I could have stayed there for 4 days and not got bored and just soaked in everything. It was just so good to see it from a different perspective and learn how policy is made, how we give testimonies, and when they're asking for people to give testimonies, and how that whole part works, and then having to do that yourself. And then just be able to ask the expert questions like, hey, I've heard this, or hey, what about this? And, we had some great examples, but then also, you know, data centers is a hot topic right now. And, as much as you feel like you're informed, when you sit down from a policy standpoint and have to understand all the different branches that are involved in that one topic. And it's not one all fits all, that it was so good. My second favorite, or that's probably helped me out the most, is the media, getting ready for media, learning how to collect your thoughts, learning how to build a storyboard, learning more about social media. Amy, you guys gave that. I asked a ton of questions during that. I challenged you guys on some topics, and then I went back and went like, okay, they're the experts. Think about this. And I've applied so much of that to my own social media pages. Like, I had not used an emoji ever before before that.
I love how that's one of your takeaways. Use emojis.
But it's so funny when you look at like the reactions and like when you how you're getting hits and all that kind of stuff, and you know and looking at different demographics. I'm tailoring to the 50 and 60-year-olds with my wording, and I'm like, well, but I've got 30-year-olds and 20-year-olds that are building their families and are buying beef, and I got to make sure that I'm tailoring to those as well. And we talked about different generations and how to connect with them, and how do they take home information. We talked about Joe Rogan, and and he's That's where most people are getting their information from. So that was just thinking about that, and then how do I take that home to our own farm? Like, if people are listening to Joe Rogan and not listening to Fox News or CNN or their evening news, well, then I have just as much opportunity. Now, I'm never going to be as famous as Joe Rogan, right? But I have just as much opportunity to get our story out there. And so when I started looking at it from that perspective of how people are getting their information, well, if they're getting their information that way, I better feed them my information that I want them to get that way as well. And so, yeah, I took home the emojis, but it was so much more than that. Thinking about how, I can't think of her name. Is it Joanne from the Federation? That she was about how we communicate to our audience and who our audience is and what, I know how far removed people are. But one of the things that I am not, when you talk to a farmer and you tell a farmer that has 10,000 cows and you're like, Betsy out and back just had a baby boy and that baby boy is going to grow up and they're like, don't name your cows. Like, so like, I was like, I shouldn't name my cows. I should keep it very farmer oriented, right? When you step back and like almost every one of my customers comes and is like, what was the name of this steer that we're going to eat? Or they'll say this cow, right? So they'll say, what's the name of this cow that we're going to eat? And I was like mortified at first. Like, I don't like, so now we have to name every one of our steers so that, so when they're going home and they're like, yeah, Herman was so good to eat tonight. And I was like, I never wanted to put that into social media because I was afraid to offend my farmer friends. But that's not my audience. Farmer friends are not my audience. It's the person that's going to eat Herman on the kitchen table. I remember the first time that happened, I had my niece with me and it was her steer from the fair, and it was right before school was going to start, and I'm like, we're going to go clothes shopping. I'm going to take you out for a day, but we got to deliver this meat. And they're like, come up, and they're like, oh, what's the name of this steer, Amy? And I'm like, really? And I'm like, Peyton, what is the name? I couldn't even remember. I'm like, Peyton, what's the name of your steer? And she's like, Sean. And I'm like, it's Sean. And they're like, oh, we can't wait to go home and tell our kids that we're eating Sean, and this is the Sean. And she got in the truck and she's like, I'm just mortified. I can't believe they're going to sit there and talk about Sean at the dinner table. But now that's just like, it's such a norm. Like every single one. Yep, you've got Sugar Daddy. You've got, whatever. She does all the naming of our animals now, but everyone has a name so that when the consumer comes and picks them up, and I can't think off the cuff very well like that, so they have to be named ahead of time. She names them all, and then I can tell them who they're eating, and it's, again, that's the kind of stuff that I had to take away from those classes to think, my audience isn't a farmer. It is to a consumer that wants to put meat on their table. And I thought that they would be mortified. Essentially, we're butchering this animal and killing it to eat it, right? And so everything that you're taught is don't talk about killing this animal. Don't
put
about
a face on it.
Yeah. Like they can't put the connection of this live animal to this thing that they're eating. It's actually, I find, very different than that. I find that they want to know that this live animal had a great home and that they were cared for and they were talked to and they have a name and I can scratch their heads. And now that great animal that had a great life is going to have high quality meat that is going on their plate. And I didn't make those connections right away. I was completely the opposite. Don't talk about that. Don't show butchering on the farm. Don't show, and I still try to do it somewhat tastefully. Like I don't show blood and all those kinds of things. But they do want to know more than what I thought that they did want to know. A lot of times we're going through themes on for fair. She's like, oh, my niece who shows or steers at the fair should be like, oh, I need a good storyline so my buyers are buy. So we went through a long term there where we were talking about just the different names and how we were naming them.
It's all about the story, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's
it is all about
kinda
the
what it all
story.
goes back to It's how you make people feel and the connection they have, and it's about this. It's a good story, right? If
Yeah.
they think you're leaving an imprint on their brain.
Yeah, for sure.
Amy, it's been a joy to talk to you, and I do feel like we probably could talk to you for another few hours here, but I think we are gonna take this opportunity to wrap it up. We have been ending our interviews just with something called quick fire, rapid fire, and so I'm just gonna give you a couple choice things, and you can give as much context or just one-word answers, however
Okay.
much you want. All right, are you a chocolate milk fan or a white milk fan?
Ooh, chocolate all the way.
And I feel like we
Fair
can,
life.
yeah, fair life chocolate
Exactly.
milk, right? Maybe
Yeah,
we
should
can
we
put them
be
to
more
sponsor
specific?
it.
Fair life chocolate milk.
There you go. I feel like that was a missed opportunity, so good fix there. Maybe we can get them to sponsor this episode.
Maybe.
You know? All right. Are you a red family or a green family?
Red.
All right. We'll see how that
But I
goes with
should
our
say that.
listeners.
So if you're talking tractors, we're a green family, but our favorite color is red. So everything around us is red.
I feel like you're trying to wiggle out of whatever
I
that
was.
our
They're going to be like, we are a green family. Why would you say red?
Wisconsin Badgers, right?
Yeah,
there we go.
exactly.
All right. Are you more into planting season or harvesting season? What's
Planting.
more of your favorite? Planting. All right. Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Christmas. All right. What about your favorite sports team?
Ooh, probably Green Bay Packers.
Okay, football.
Yep.
And then we'll end with, what is your favorite Farm Bureau event to attend or plan, or whatever that looks like for you?
Yeah. So I'm excited about going to convention. This will be my first year, so I'm really excited about going to that. On a county level, our wine and cheese event has been phenomenal, but I'm gonna then also put a plug in for the institute, like for anybody that's even thinking about it or thinks they're too old or too young or too busy or any of that. If they want to grow, just learn more about their farm or how Farm Bureau works or policies or continue to develop themselves, they should apply for the institute. Leadership Institute.
I'm going to ask you, Wendy, who organizes the institute, I want to know how much she paid you to say that. I'm going to ask her to sponsor this episode.
Along with Fair Life, how much did they pay?
Yeah, we're gonna make millions on this episode.
And this is how podcasts work.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Amy, for
very
spending some time
welcome.
with us today. And obviously, thank you for being a Farm Bureau member. And we'll leave it at that.
Wisconsin Farm Bureau's Cultivate and Connect conference goes above and beyond other training opportunities. It's packed with fresh sessions tailored to real-life agriculture, from leadership stories, hands-on labs for promotion and engagement, to tours of real agriculture businesses. Register at WFBF.com.